guys, Marty Schwartz here with Marty Music. We got another episode of Guitar Tours, and it's a special one. We're going to be focusing on Mythos pedals, and I'm with the founder of Mythos pedals, Zach Broyles.
Hey, man.
Hey, man. And nice jam.
Oh, thanks.
I was saying earlier, you know, best way to get to know someone is start jamming.
That's very true.
And that was some really nice, tasty playing there. This is kind of like a pedal episode of Guitar Tours here. That open jam that we were doing, was it the pedal that made you sound so good, or was it your playing?
I don't know.
Maybe a combination?
I guess, you know, the thing I should say, it was the pedals.
What pedal were you using on that jam?
I was using the Herculean V2, which is like dipping my toe in the transparent overdrive, you know, pool.
What would you consider a transparent overdrive?
I think a lot of people, when they say transparent, they think of something that doesn't change anything, but sunglasses are transparent.
Yeah.
Right? So it just adds a little flavor of gain. Unless you're using a boost, most things aren't really purely transparent.
Sure.
It's just something that doesn't really take away anything. It only gives you a little gain, of course, and you can filter the high end and boost the lows if you need to, and push the mids just slightly. But
Gotcha. How long have you been doing Mythos pedals?
I started using the name in 2010.
Okay, so quite a while.
Yeah, but I didn't start taking it seriously until a few years ago. I had met Rob Chapman, the YouTuber, and Joey Landreth.
Yep.
You familiar with Joey?
Yep.
And we became fast friends, and I gave him one as well. And then he wound up getting on that pedal show, and it just all sort of, I owe my business to YouTube in some way or another.
Well, geez, great.
So thank you.
Yeah,
right?
No, let's
You're an
plug
ambassador.
some more. Mythos pedals. Yes, we've got it. From that tasty jam, you were clearly a musician kind of before you were geeking out on the pedals, I assume.
Right, yeah, I started playing guitar when I was, I guess, 15, so I've been playing around 20 years. But I have a weird handicap. My left hand only turns halfway over.
Skateboarding? Or?
No, I think I was 7 or so, and my sister and I were jumping on the bed, pushing each other, and I fell off and I broke both bones of my wrist, and it wasn't set properly. So when I play guitar, I hug my arm. I have double jointed elbows, which is convenient.
Great.
But I hug my arm against my body and I play with my thumb, like the Hendrix.
Yeah, yeah.
So I never felt totally comfortable like pursuing guitar fully.
Oh, okay.
I love playing guitar. I don't play it enough now. Mainly they're test instruments for these things. You know?
Sure, but I get it. You know, you find your lane.
Right.
And floor it.
That's it.
So we're actually hanging out at Eastside Music Supply here in Nashville. There's just some killer guitars everywhere, but this guitar right here is your own personal guitar?
Yes.
And there's some cool story you were talking about off camera about refinishing it or something?
Right.
And
so,
what is this?
So this is a 2014 R9, so a 59 reissue custom shop. When I got engaged, I bought my wife a big diamond ring and I said, hey, listen, I'm gonna go pick out the guitar I want. And I went and got this, but when I got it, it was bright red. It was called Washed Cherry. So it was a really bright red sunburst. I mean, it was fine, but I wanted it to look like Pearly Gates. That's like my dream guitar. Billy Gibbons, Les Paul. I used to work at Carter Vintage Guitars. I worked there for a couple years.
Right on.
Through working there, I met Tom Murphy, which a lot of people know. He's like the Finnish guy. He's the aging guy for Gibson.
Gotcha.
He does all the artist replicas for the custom shop and stuff. And while I was talking to him, I said, I wish my 59 looked like Pearly Gates. And he's like, well, just bring it to the house. So I drove to his house. I stripped all the parts off of it. And I drove to his house and we stripped the top and we painted it, and we like took it outside and held it in the sun. He said more brown, more red. We dialed in the color to look like Pearly before it faded. He had a photo of Pearly Gates before it faded. And so this is what we ended up with. And I've changed literally everything on it, pickups, electronics and stuff, but the paint is what is really special. And it's got that super 3D flame to it, but just a fantastic guitar.
Man, I could have never guessed that was a different color.
Right, yeah. You would never know.
Tell.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about your Mythos pedals. You've got a little pedal board set up here with a bunch of your main pedals that you offer, right?
Yeah, this is the bread and butter.
Okay, well, let's just go through them.
Okay, the first one is the one that got me out of just making all your basic overdrives.
Okay.
And it's called the Golden Fleece, and it's a one knob fuzz. The knob on it just controls your volume, and I always say the fuzz lives in your guitar, so you have to roll your volume back to clean it up and
Sweet.
Let your fingers do all the gain control. But it's a pretty standard fuzz sound. And it'll... But it is not necessarily a clone of something super specific. It started as a clone of this really rare pedal that Nels Cline supposedly had, and I've tweaked it, but it's if you don't like fuzz, it's a good entry point because it's not crazy heavy, you know.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, play it a little more.
Yeah.
And yeah, I also noticed with the Mythos pedals, the names. You've got some great names.
Yeah, I grew up in a town called Sparta.
Okay.
So that's partly where the Greek thing came from. And not all of them are based on Greek myths, but just gave me kind of an identity, you know, to have like a brand with names that kind of fit within a theme.
I love it. So what makes you decide to put it in a smaller housing or a bigger housing? Is it a necessity thing?
Whatever the circuit really needs. I mean, some of these smaller pedals, they don't need a bigger enclosure. If I can make something more pedalboard friendly, I might as well.
So we had the Golden Fleece Fuzz, sounded very nice. And then we're just going to move down the line there. So we've got a...
So the next one is called the Argonaut, which is the little brother to another pedal that's going to come later. But the Argonaut is just an octave up, cleanish octave up. The idea of it is stacking with another pedal to kind of give you the classic Hendrix sort of Octavia kind of things. But by itself, it's a little nasty.
Okay.
So...
Would you run fuzz before that for that sound?
I like fuzz before it and overdrive after it, but your mileage may vary. Everyone kind of, you know, depending on what circuit you have, they all interact a little differently.
Let's hear them together. Yeah.
So with the overdrive before it, so it does that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And then with an overdrive after it, we'll just kind of skip ahead, but you can hear how it interacts.
Okay, well we got more. So
the next one, which is not in the same theme of the last one, but it's miniature, so might as well put it together. It's called the Acestus. The Acestus was an ancient battle glove that had spikes, and you would beat people to death with it. So it's a boost. It's just a clean boost. I never thought clean boosts were all that interesting, you know, but it is a very useful thing, and people ask me for it. So, but it's just a really straightforward clean boost. If I turn it up a little bit. It's pretty loud. It does about 30 decibels. So that's like the difference between 100 and 50 watts is only like 3 decibels.
Okay.
So it's really loud.
Wow. Not bad.
So the next one is the big brother to the Argonaut. It's called the Argo. So it's an octave fuzz, but it has a boost and then a clean blend. So you can blend in the fuzz octave sound. And it's pretty interesting. It does a lot of different things, but it just gives you a really kind of floating in the background octave fuzz tone. Having the blend lets you dial in the perfect amount of that sort of thing, and you can go pretty crazy with it. Loud. So you can have it really nasty or turn it all the way down, and it kind of does what the Argonaut does.
I love that sound.
Yeah, super neat, super useful. Just a really fun pedal to like stack with other overdrives too. But we'll have a couple overdrives, so we'll just kind of breeze through those.
Okay.
The next one is the Herculean V2, which is what I used in the opening jam.
Yeah, that was one of the names that stood out to
Herculean, big, you know, like strong guy kind of thing. Again, my entry into transparent thing. So it's got volume gain and then clarity and a bass control. So the clarity lets you dial in the transparency, so to speak. And the bass lets you pump up the bass and also clip the low end, so you can get kind of a really fat sound. Really straightforward Swiss Army knife sort of overdrive. And it works for every style of guitar and player. It's the pedal that every time I test all my overdrives, I'm like, I like that one the most, kind of thing.
All right.
If we just want to move on to the next one, that's called the Chupacabra. So that's my homage to the first like 4 or 5 ZZ Top records. Because obviously I love ZZ Top and Billy Gibbons. And so what this thing does is just kind of takes your amp, and if you have the gain set low, it kind of turns it into like a tweed sort of sound. And if you crank the gain, it's just a gnarly ZZ Top-esque thing. So kind of in between fuzz and overdrive.
Nice.
Next one is the first pedal I really brought to the market, and that's the Mjolnir, that's Thors Hammer. And so this is my modified version of a Klon, even further removed from when I started. It's way different than being just your basic Klon clone. I've got it set now as more of an overdrive, but it works really well as a clean boost and does all sorts of things, so. So kind of mid-forward, but just kind of takes your amp and just smacks it. That's been one of my most popular pedals. So.
Dude, excellent.
And then lastly is the Oracle, which is not out yet. And that's, yeah.
Oh, all right.
It's my delay. I'm trying to dial out a few little quirks, but hopefully I'll have it ready.
Is it more complicated to make a delay pedal?
Yeah. And this one is digital, but it has a lot of really kind of analog features. There's a delicate balancing act. When you try to shove like a bunch of features in a box that's so small, sometimes things can be noisy or just not work right, or I'm just trying to dial out a little noise right now. I'm not hearing it today, but it's a really neat delay. It has subdivision control, so you can do quarter note, eighth note dotted, and then combinations. It has EQ controls just for the repeats. It has modulation and a preamp like an Echoplex, so you can actually drive your amp with just the overdrive. For just a simple delay, so you can kind of hear the modulation.
Modulation, yeah.
And it's not super bright. And you can hold the tap to do like a
sustain.
Yeah, if you hold it long enough, it'll just oscillate and do the spaceship thing.
Oh yeah.
I've got everything pretty much ready. I just have to figure out how to squelch some noise, which is just me again, just over a circuit board with parts and just soldering things to other things.
Right.
But it's coming, and I'm really excited about it because it's compact and it does a lot of things that a guy like me, I feel like I'm a pretty straightforward guitar player. I don't need all the bells and whistles. That kind of is as much as I would ever want out of a delay. And everything I make is like, people ask me to make funny things, and I say, if I wouldn't use it, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my mantra in that respect.
Good philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on. My channel, Marty Music, it's, predominantly education, guitar lessons, playing songs, all that. Yeah. So from the educational standpoint, people that are trying to learn more about pedals, I get asked constantly, should I put my fuzz before delay, or should I put my wah pedal at the end or the beginning, or, what, you spending so much time developing pedals, what's the basic philosophy of an order of pedals?
Yeah, well, you kind of have to do whatever sounds best to you, but how I typically approach setting up a board, the guitar hits some sort of drive first, then moves into modulation, then into your time-based stuff. And there's, different rules for that, because most people put a wah and they get the guitar hits the wah first, or sometimes you might want an octave pedal to be first in your change so that it's affecting your overdrives or your fuzzes. Most of the time, for your bread and butter board, you're gonna wanna have fuzz, overdrive things first, modulation next, and then reverb then delay, or vice versa.
Okay.
But again, it's whatever sounds best to you. Many people have done things that I would say, that's not right. It sounds great. So
Sure. I want to thank Zach Broyles right here once again. Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the coolest things for me is I always get to learn a little something,
right.
And also East Side Music Supply here. That's where we're at. So if you guys are ever in the Nashville area, want to check out, look at that. That's insane. But we've got great guitars here too. Come on in to East Side Music Supply. What I was thinking would be cool is we just do a bit of a longer jam,
sure.
And you can go through your different pedals. That sound good?
I'll do my best.
All right.